because they're reporting that, they now know that you got that income. So the video that I have scheduled to post next on this channel is how YouTube changed my life as a creator with about 4,000 subscribers, and as a creator who's a Gen X, a little bit older creator. I'm editing that video, but I wanted to pause here and to let fellow content creators know about their tax forms they may be receiving, 1099-Ks from places like Stripe. If you've ever did Uber or Lyft, or you sold stuff on eBay and use Stripe or PayPal or any those servicers to collect money to invoice people. This includes course creators who use sites like Kajabi, Thinkific, Teachable, and Gumroad to sell their courses, and those who sell digital or real-life products through sites like Etsy, or sell products and services through their own website but cash out using Stripe, Venmo, PayPal, or some other digital collector. There is a law called the American Rescue Act that came out in 2021 that essentially what that act did is lowered the threshold for reporting. So before that act was passed, if you made less than $20,000 in any given platform in a given year, platforms wouldn't send to the IRS notification that you made that money. So there are a lot of people who made money just hobbling and cobbling together various different little gigs. You know, the gig economy, like they did a lot of different things. They drove Uber, they drove Lyft, they sold stuff on eBay. So a lot of people piece together an earning and make a living, but they always stay below the 20,000. So the IRS never knew about those earnings. So a lot of those people just never reported. What that act did was drop the threshold from 20,000 to 600. That's a huge drop. Now, if you made $600, they're reporting that. What happens when they report that? That means the IRS is on notice that you got that money. So all these people who put together all this, different gigs to make money now kind of potentially need to report it if they weren't reporting it before. So that was a drastic change. Before I talk about the new thing about that law, the reason why I think, this is my just personal opinion, and I'm not a tax professional, but I am an attorney. I'm not your attorney, but I, do understand the laws, and this came out from an act, which is a law. And the reason why I think that legislation came into play is during the pandemic in the United States anyway, they allowed people who didn't have traditional work, the traditional jobs, who weren't W-2 employees, but who were 1099 employees, were also suffering, where a lot of the relief came for people who had employers. Employers were getting like PPP loans in order to pay their employees money. If you weren't an W-2 employee, you were kind of out there. So the United States government allowed people to file and allowed states to let people who are gig workers make claims and get money. And so a lot of gig workers made claims. I think that's when the United States realized that, wow, there's a lot of people have making a lot of money collectively, and none of that's taxed. So I think that was the reason for it. It's trying to like to go after those people. As you can imagine, the people who do that sort of stuff usually are low income to low middle income. They're granted, you could make a substantial living doing that, but for the most part, it's still hard work. You know what I mean? Driving Uber is still hard work. Being an Eats driver, whatever like that, or delivering, Postmates or whatever like that, that's hard work. So it's still backbreaking work for anyone who does that, even if they make a lot of money for it. So you can imagine, especially in this election year, that's not a good look. So, and it was confusing. So what happened was, even though the law was technically supposed to go into effect, because it was a law of 2021, it was technically supposed to go into effect in 2022. They delayed it because it was just a mess, and then people didn't know, and the reporting, the forms that came out was just kind of like they had to redo all the old forms, and it wasn't ready, which was great because that gave people who did that an extra year. So technically, the law was supposed to go into effect this year because they delayed it. However, instead of dropping the threshold from $20,000 to $600, they just said, okay, let's meet halfway, which is not really halfway. Now it's $5,000. So if you made $5,000 and you use Stripe, PayPal, if you made $5,000 from eBay, from Etsy, from any of these other platforms, they're like the go-between, the middleman between, customers or people you collect money from and then you. So the government is requiring those entities, those platforms, to submit for anyone who made $5,000. So it's still going to impact a lot of people. I still think, because $5,000 really in the United States really not that much money. And I think a lot of people, if you were piecing together an honest living with different income sources, it's foreseeable that during 1 year that you made $5,000 on your various different gigs. And so that's something that you need to prepare for, to report that. Now, if you have a good tax professional, and I'm not one, or if you go to a tax service, or if you yourself know how to do taxes, you can arguably figure it out and write off some other expenses and come out even, or maybe even get a credit from this, especially if you have a spouse who is a W-2 employee for someone. You can figure it out. So anyway, so this video is just to let you know about that recent law that is impacting, just to explain the forms that you're now getting that you might not have gotten before, and you might be like, oh my God, what does this mean? So what it means is that they're reporting that. So which means that because they're reporting that, they now know that you got that income. Now, whether or not you want to file that or not, I don't know. That's up to you. That's a decision you need to make, but it's a risk if you don't, and you get audited and they may ask for it later on. So just be aware, just know, check that out, go to your professional. So this is JJ Gatt. On this account, I help content creators understand the laws that impact them, whether it's Federal Trade Commission disclosure rules, whether it's the terms and a brand deal or management contract, whether it is the requirements related to defamation, libel, all the various different laws that are coming down the pike that impact social media platforms, and how ultimately they'll impact content creators. So if you're interested in that, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this channel, share with a fellow creators, share a fellow gig economy folk. I'm growing this account. It's shifted over the years from different iterations, from different, I've landed here because I have a legal background. I'm an attorney, and I feel like there's no other place on social media anywhere or on YouTube that's helping fellow content creators decode and demystify and know the laws. Not as your attorney, but just someone just knows it. I feel like, that's a service that's much needed. Anyway, good luck to you, and I hope that's helpful for you. And if you'd like to know other laws that's related to content creators, I'm going to put a playlist here so you can check those out next.